Good afternoon, everyone. Jim Benneman reporting with a CBSN breaking news update. It's mid-November, and we're talking about a wildfire in Bone Dry, Colorado. This one burning in South Estes Park. It is the Kruger Peak fire, forcing a lot of people to evacuate. Make that Kruger Rock. People were told to leave everything and get out of the fire's path as quickly as possible, and that was early this morning. The winds were really whipping up. This fire is threatening homes and other structures, and right now, it is too windy to use aircraft to fight that fire. Now, the Larimer County Sheriff's Department says the fire at this point is up to about 110 acres. Again, was spotted about 7 a.m. this morning. Those high winds are pushing that fire south, and so evacuation orders are rapidly being upgraded. Right now, when I look at the mandatory evacuation map, you can see all the areas in red include Hermit Park, Meadowdale, also extends south of the Boulder County line. Also want to tell you that we've also got evacuations were ordered at 1 o'clock for an area from Pole Hill Road to Panorama Peak. That's on the east side of Highway 36. And remember, Highway 36, because of all the emergency operations in the area, is now closed from just east of Estes all the way down to very close to Lyons. Please avoid this area. They've got serious work to do. Evacuation centers have been opened up at the Estes Park Fairgrounds, the Estes Park YMCA of the Rockies, and also Life Bridge Church down in Longmont. And the YMCA says it is more than capable of feeding and providing free lodging to everybody who can go over there tonight. The Larimer County Sheriff's Office tells us the fire was likely caused by power lines that run through that area. They really got whipped around at that wind, and apparently one snapped. There are voluntary evacuations for the Little Valley area at the southern edge of Estes Park, as well as Pinewood Springs, east of 36, as mentioned. Right now, we've got team coverage of the fire. Dave Aguilera, of course, monitoring those high winds. Want to start with Kelly Werthmann, who is live from one of the evacuation centers set up in Estes. Kelly, people are using them.
Absolutely, Jim. We've seen evacuees coming here throughout the day. This is at the fairgrounds here in Estes Park. Many of the evacuees have either been going to friends' homes or some of the other evacuation centers, but many have been coming here throughout the afternoon. In fact, just a few moments ago, we met Tom Street and his wife, Susan. They actually evacuated early this morning before the alert went out. The flames were just starting to kick up around 7 o'clock. Thankfully, they already had emergency bags packed just in case of a fire like this. They said it certainly was a frightening scene, but one they're also very familiar with, as they've evacuated many fires here before.
It was about 7:15 and the power went out, so I just assumed it was the wind. However, I looked out down from my house, and I said, that's strange that those lights are on and the power's off. And so then, but the lights kept getting bigger and bigger. And so I got my binoculars and I realized there was a grass fire about 3/4 of a mile down from our house. And then within, 20 minutes, it was expanded probably up to 20 acres.
I keep a suitcase packed with cash at all times, and everything I need to stay overnight somewhere else. And all because you may have 2 minutes or 2 seconds to get out. These winds are really treacherous, they can blow up and blow embers onto your roof. And you could have literally 2 seconds or 2 minutes. You don't want to think about what to take. So this is packed with, you can see my car always has N95 masks for fire. This is always left in my car, winter clothing, mittens, hats, extra masks, and so I'm always prepared.
And that's, of course, what authorities want everyone in this area who's had to be evacuated to do. Certainly grab those essentials, grab your belongings. So let's go ahead and take another look at the evacuation map. You can see the areas in red are the mandatory evacuation zones. Those that are in the yellow are voluntary. The red zone, the mandatory evacuations, again, in the areas of Hermit Park, Little Valley, the area of Meadowdale, south down to the Boulder County line. Also the areas of Big Elk Meadows and Pinewood Springs, west of Highway 36. And Jim, as you mentioned, mentioned, also parts of Highway 36 are closed right now. As we come back out here live, want to show you, again, we're here at the evacuation center that's at the event center, the fairgrounds here, and you can see just a little bit of the smoke from the Kruger Rock Fire, certainly blowing in the wind as it heads a little bit east. We've seen the plumes of smoke go up and down really throughout this afternoon as the winds kick up continuously through the day. Also want to let you know about the overnight shelter that's available at the YMCA gym. I know you hinted at this. We also should mention that small pets are welcome there. Some folks here certainly want to have their animals close by as they are waiting for word if their homes are going to be okay. You don't need a reservation to show up at that YMCA here in Estes Park. You can just show up. The address is 2515 Tunnel Road. Again, that's here in Estes Park. The couple that I spoke to said that's what their plan is. Even though they do have friends here in Estes Park that they could stay with, they are likely going to be at the YMCA. Coming up at 5, we're going to hear more of the story from Tom and Susan as they've lived here for more than 20 years, Jim, and they're now thinking about making this the last year they call this place home.
Yeah, Kelly, one update as well, talking about where people can take their animals. Also, the Larimer Humane Society in Loveland. People with smaller animals can go there. Large animals should go to the Ranch Event Center in Loveland, right off I-25. As you know, with your love of horses, you've been around there. It is a big property and can handle those large animals. So, Kelly, some additional information, because we know the good folks who live in Estes, they love their horses and other animals, and they'll want to make sure that they've got safekeeping as well. Right now, I want to check in with meteorologist Dave Aguilera in Colorado's Weather Center. And, you know, Dave, they talked about how this really took off this morning, because once it got that spark, the winds early this morning really propelled this fire.
Yeah, that's all it takes is just that wind kicking up and the dry conditions. Right now, it is still huffing and puffing up there. There is Estes Park right in the middle of your screen there, where it's going 33 miles per hour right out of the west. That's a downsloping wind. That's why it's so warm around the Front Range. I want to take you back now to 5 o'clock in the morning, and let's take this full, and I'll show you what's going on. At 5 o'clock this morning, up in Estes Park, the winds were going about 37 miles per hour. Now, as we roll the time lapse here, watch what happens. By the time we get to about 8 a.m., it's going about 40 to 45 mile per hour in that Estes Park location up there, right there. And watch as we continue this through the morning. It's kind of just waffling anywhere from 25 up to 35 miles per hour, and 33 is where we're sitting right now. And it's windy all up and down the Front Range, out over the eastern plains right now as well. Here's the forecast now as we go through the night. Now, we have a cold front we've been talking about coming through Colorado right now. That is helping to push these winds along. The front now is in northwestern Colorado. It will probably go through the Denver metro area between 7 and 8 o'clock tonight. As this comes through between now and about 6, look at Estes Park up there on that left-hand side, popping up to about 52 miles per hour at least by 5:30 this afternoon. So the winds are going to get worse than they are right now, and worse than they were this morning. So it's just going to go downhill between now and about 6 or 7 o'clock. Then the front comes through, bam, and behind the front, the winds start to gradually weaken. That's the map at 9 o'clock. In Estes Park, it's still windy, but not what we've seen earlier. We're going about 27 to 24 miles per hour through Red Feather Lakes down to Estes Park here. And then I do have good news overnight into tomorrow morning. We get a little breeze blowing. That's about midnight. It's kicking up, just breezy, not crazy wind. And then by tomorrow morning, even around that Estes Park area, it starts to die down just a little bit, as it does in the metro area as well. So probably around the Estes Park, Lyons, Red Feather Lakes area, maybe about 5 to nearly 24 mile per hour winds from time to time. So it doesn't go away completely, but it's a big improvement over what we have. Now, if you've been watching the last 24 hours, we've been talking about a red flag warning that's in place for the entire Denver metro area. And as you look at the map here, you're saying, hey, well, wait a minute. Estes Park is not in that red flag warning. They have two criteria for a red flag warning. First, you got to have the strong winds. They do have that, but the humidity has to be under 15% to have a red flag warning posted. And if you look at the humidity for Estes Park right now, it's at 21%. So that's the only reason they are not in the red flag warning. But that just bears kind of an alert. You do not have to be in a red flag warning for a fire to take off.